Welcome back. So why are the rules on transfers changing? Last April, Governor Rick Scott signed a sweeping education bill creating a massive easing of the rules for school choice. Lawmakers and education advocates said at the time it would give parents the opportunity to pick the best school for their child. But critics say it will hurt schools, losing students, diluting the values of their taxes for the district, and disrupting growth efforts. Of course, it will also have a major impact on young athletes, allowing them to transfer even in the middle of a season. So how will we be impacted by here on the Suncoast? And joining us for more on the new rules is Bethany King, Athletic Director for the Sarasota County School District, and Pete Dombrowski, the Athletic Director for Venice High School. Thank you both for joining this. And I know, as you saw in Adam's story, there are a tremendous amount of different opinions about this. You have coaches like Adam interviewed who say that he's going to have a hard time keeping good players on his team because they see the bright lights, maybe another district over, and think that they're going to be seen more there. Is that what some coaches are telling you? I'm sure they're talking to you. I'm sure parents are talking to you.
I have coaches talking. Of course, coaches are going to talk because if you're the receiving school, you're looking at, are we going to get an athlete? If you're on the other end of a coach whose students are leaving because you're not successful this year, it bothers you that I'm going to work a year with this child, get him in the weight room, and I don't know if he'll be there next year. And of course the parents are looking, and there's not much you can tell a parent because of FHSA and the recruiting. Parents do call, they want to talk to the coach. We don't allow them to talk to the coach because that would be the recruiting rule. But they're out there doing their homework, and I think it's more going to be the parents' decision on where they want to go.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. A lot of the calls from the parents then end up at the district level because we can answer some more global questions from that perspective. But there is a misconception, I would say, in terms of it being a free agency, because parents think that they can have this athletic ability to access a school of their choice, not recognizing that they also have to have capacity or the availability wherever you access your academics. In turn comes your athletic access.
Let's separate some fact and fiction because, and I'll full disclosure, my son is a senior at a public high school and he plays baseball. And also, full disclosure, as an investigative reporter, I broke the story of a state championship football team who was stripped of its state title because they were using football players who illegally transferred from other cities. And what I experienced in both these roles is that you've had athletes who have worked hard for 4 years on whatever team they're on, and all of a sudden they're big-footed by the big, great, player that comes in from out of town after 4 years of work. The student is not happy, the parent is not happy, and you're the folks who have to deal with it.
But that's been a situation since school choice, whether the athlete came from school D to school B and bumped out the student athlete in school B because he was a better player who didn't go through the little league, didn't go through the middle school, just decided because the state instituted school choice within the county. That has been occurring. Now it's just going to open up that now they're coming from outside your county.
Right, but when there have been allegations of illegal transfers, and not to get down to the weeds, but what the Florida High School Athletic Association has already used to mandate was it had to be a full and complete move. If you lived in Tampa and transferred to Sarasota, you had to sell your house in Tampa, you had to end utilities, move your furniture. And people were getting around that,
well, there are some
or at least
exceptions.
trying. And the state had investigators who actually went out and investigated those things. Not so much anymore.
Well, after the Lakeland incident, where the legislature kind of took a little more power from the FHSA because of the investigations that were going on, that they didn't feel was fair. I think the FHS stepped back from doing that.
Right, and Bethany, what happened there was parents in Lakeland complained to their state senator, who led a 4 or 5 year effort to actually change the law in Florida, and that's in fact what happened.
I think that in Sarasota County we have a good check and balances system that allows us to be more proactive in terms of ensuring that those full and complete moves take place. The FHSA has adjusted their policy somewhat to allow for the understanding and the changing in society in terms of children living in multiple households and what that looks like. They have expanded their thoughts. Their policy has adjusted somewhat.
But they still slip through the cracks. If they
Correct.
want to get in, they're going to get in.
And we have less than a minute here, but you do have situations where, let's say you have divorced parents. It is quite legal for a student to move from one parent's house to another house, maybe in a more preferable district.
Yes,
And
especially with 50-50.
that's always been the case.
And we have some checks and balances, like I said, in terms of making sure that students do truly reside in the address that they say that they reside in, and that they access again their academic program at their.
And I want to get more into that when we come back. We're just getting started. There's more to our discussion on school transfer rules coming up right after a check on our forecast. So stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing a change to Florida law enabling students to transfer to just about any school for any reason. Many fear it would create a free agency system for high school athletes. Joining us for more on this topic is Bethany King, District Director, Athletic Director at Sarasota County Schools, and Pete Dombrowski, the Athletic Director for Venice High School. And Bethany, you were telling me that you have a system in place to make sure that those transferring to Sarasota County schools live where they say that they are going to live. How does that work?
Correct. So we have those who don't participate in the controlled open enrollment choice policy or the opportunity, the window available to them, and they show up after that. So let's say at the beginning of the school year in August, they show up with their registration paperwork at each of our traditional high schools. They are going to be required to produce residency documents as part of the registration process. At that point in time, if you don't have a utility bill, a lease, something to show that you do reside at that address, but you're rather using an affidavit or some kind of temporary custodian or guardianship, that's going to hit a red flag immediately.
Right, but in the past, people have, from time to time, falsified those documents. So is anybody going out there to actually check the home?
Correct. That's our front line.
I mean, that's reality.
It is, and that is our front line, the registrar, with informing the parent and whatnot of the policies. And then we do have truancy workers, and we often utilize other school-based staff or district-based staff to go out and do multiple attempts at residency checks to confirm it's not just a one-time that we're seeing, oh, you live here today and we won't come back again.
Now, Pete, is there a misnomer among parents and athletes alike that they have to get to this particular high school if they want to be noticed by a Division I team or a major league team? I remember the famous quote from Urban Meyer, the football coach, "If you're good, we're going to find you."
But parents, they believe that if the more exposure, the further you go on in a district, regional to a state championship, the less teams playing, the more your child's going to get noticed. And they do believe that. They believe that if they're a better team, more people come. And it's just, as we discussed, most of the scouting does take place during a club ball where a scout can look at 30 teams at one setting instead of coming to see one athlete at one game like when we were younger.
There's also the pull of a kid and a parent who may want to put themselves in the position to win a state championship, just like the pros. That's why free agents go to certain teams.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, the recognition. I have a ring at home from state championship baseball, which we've won a few of them, that they get bigger and nicer, and it's, people see it and say, is that a World Series ring? It's what they go after. It's a recognition, and it's something that they'll have forever.
So address for a moment the reservation that you saw from the coach in Adam's story, that there may be situations for some kids who are transferring from school to school to school in search of that starting position, in search of that championship ring. And in effect, is this really good for the youngster and his high school experience?
I think it's important to really grasp that the opportunity for transfer out under the House bill exists, but we also have to know that there's seats available. So when you look at some of the schools, and traditionally for us, we've had a few of our schools that just haven't had seats available because the students who live or reside in that attendance zone area are holding those seats. So it's important to know that you may want to seek out that best opportunity, but there may not be available seats.
The bottom line is education. When you take a child and move from school to school in the middle of a semester, where is he in math class at school A compared to math math class school B. So we're losing perspective that they're a student first, athlete second. So that's what concerns me is are they going to be on time to graduate? Or are they going to fall behind? Without that too, well, you're not stepping on a field at all either.
Right, but we've all dealt with these parents and the kids who will want to do this at all costs.
Oh, they do, and I've had parents come in and I say right before any investigation, if you're falsifying this, you understand your child will be ineligible for 1 year. I'm just letting you know, I'm going to go check your address. I'm going to come in, is this your address? I'm going to tell them up front right away, here's the rule, because some parents don't know the rule. So if you're going to come in and tell me you live here, where I've heard rumors, we have suspicions, face right there, then you need to go get your driver's license changed, which if you falsify a driver's license, I believe it is a federal felony.
Right. You know, this does happen not only in Florida, but you could find articles all around the country of similar things happening, including in Texas, you know, which, you know, is famous for its Friday nights. But the question that we all have to answer is, where does this go? Because obviously, you know, it used to be you go to whatever school that you are districted for, and we're definitely getting away from that.
Where we grew up, it's turned into a college. And it would be nice. I've had coaches tell me there has to be a way when they transfer, do they do like college? You transfer, you sit out a year, which you can't do in high school. You have 4 years to graduate. You know, there right now there isn't a good policy, I believe, that curtails this. I mean, growing up, you're learning that you're committed to something. When you're committed to that school and you see it all the way out, you learn through life into your adulthood, commitment.
Right, and this is true, Bethany, with all sports. We're not just talking about baseball or football. We're talking about basketball. We're talking about softball. We're talking about
golf, tennis, cross country, track. It's across the board.
So, understanding what the state has done with these transfer rules, is there anything that you would wish that state legislators would do to either take some of the crazy out of this or tighten things up?
I think for us, I think that some other school districts may have been at a little bit more of a disadvantage than we here in Sarasota County. I feel that we're always pretty innovative and trend-setting in terms of looking at what could be coming. We're always looking for the best opportunities, like Pete mentioned, number one, academics, secondarily, athletics and extracurricular opportunities for our students. So for us in Sarasota County, we already had this controlled open enrollment policy available to our students. The difference now is that it expands out for other people to come outside of our county to take advantage of the many programs that we have available. The important piece to recognize, though, is as a resident in Sarasota County, you're always going to have that preference, that number one preference. So I think if we look at changes that coming down the line, I would really hope that it will remain the same, that if you reside in that county, you're able to continue with having that first preference.
We have less than a minute left, but I would imagine it's tough enough situation if you have somebody coming from a competing district within the county, but if you're coming from another county and somebody's taking your kid's place, I would imagine a lot of parents are going to go nuclear.
That's, yeah, they do. And that's part of it. But what I tell them, call your legislature. We did not make these rules. These are rules that we were handed. And whether we agree with them or not, I know when we were growing up, you were at the school where you lived and you stayed at that school. But true to changes, legislature changes, and that's why I tell the parents, if you don't like it, write a letter, make a phone call. We didn't make the rules.
All right, let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about a bill to allow firearms in airport terminals. Stay with us. Welcome back. The new rules for school transfers go into effect at the start of next year. What kind of impact will they have on our students? Our guests join us now for final thoughts. Bethany, speak for a moment to the parent watching this tonight who can't wait to try to transfer their kid out to that school they want to go to, and speak to the parent who may be fearful that their kid is going to lose their position.
Absolutely. So the primary focus for anyone who's looking to transfer into or take advantage of the controlled open enrollment policy is to understand that that window is for a very short period of time. So you have in Sarasota County the end of February through mid-March to get your documentation into the school district office to take advantage of that policy. As we discussed earlier in the program, making sure that you understand as a resident in Sarasota County, as a resident of that school that your child is currently attending, your spot will never be taken over by by someone who is not already districted to that. So making sure that parents understand if you're looking to transfer in, take advantage of the window of opportunity, because when it closes for the next school year.
And Pete, again, speak to that player out there or that parent who thinks by transferring to Venice High School and if they play baseball that they're not only going to get the opportunity to play baseball there, but they have a much better chance to get drafted or play Division I.
I think any school that's competitive, that's been successful, that has moved student athletes on to the next level, those parents will see that. It's very competitive. There's not any reassurance just because your child steps on that field and plays at a school like Venice High School, Riverview High School, Booker High School, that they're going to go on in that prospective sport. It's not a guarantee, and you have to do your homework. Like we said, number one thing is education. Is it a school? Does it offer your child the best opportunity? Because as we know, athletics doesn't last forever.
Okay. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, guns in airports. Last month, a gunman killed 5 people at Fort Lauderdale International Airport in the wake of the shooting. Many are looking for answers, and State Senator Greg Steube has an idea. More guns. He's filing legislation to allow Floridians with concealed carry permits to bring their weapons into airport terminals. And we asked you what you think of this proposal. Chris Barlow writes, of course they should be allowed to. Many people carry a firearm at all legal locations, restaurants, churches, shopping, and almost no issues. It's a gun-free zone where mass shooters go to kill people. Jeff Vermillion writes, he is a delusional gun nut. We don't need more guns. We need more sworn police officers. And Lorraine Tyner writes, wow, well, he won't be getting my vote at re-election. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, want to watch past Roundtable discussions? They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to our guests for being here tonight. Bethany King is District Athletic Director for Sarasota County Schools, and Pete Dombrowski is the Athletic Director at Venice High School.